watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.
Gone are the days traditional paperwork and lengthy approval processes. Instead, the F&I offices today, it's in an era of digitalization, personalization, and efficiency, which is the name of the game. Today we're joined by Dennis Gingrich, who's the Variable Operations Director at Niello Company, to bring us up to speed on what's happening in the F&I office today. So Dennis, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's good to be here.
There's still an F&I office in the dealership? How'd that happen?
They're still there.
I thought we were changing everything. What's this F&I office you're talking about?
I think we've been changing everything since the early 1900s, but the more
right.
things change, the more they stay the same, as they say.
That's exactly right. So in your market, what are the biggest issues facing the F&I office today, and how have they evolved over the past few years?
You know, I think you hit it really on the head. I think there's an increased demand from, really the public on how they want to transact, which in turn, we got to be where the market is and also wants to be in the future. And I think that's just making your traditional car sales professional just have to be a little bit more adept at navigating different technology and really marrying, sales and technology, which they have their way to dance, but it's it can be awkward at times. And I think, that's part of it. And then, also in the backdrop, while making sure we are conducting ourselves in accordance with all the compliance and regulation that customers deserve, which is, just speaking to transparency, which is also what customers want.
Sure. Now, during COVID, everyone raced to get up to speed on digital retailing and to be able to deliver a car completely online, have it maybe delivered right to the front door. As we saw, even some of the OEMs jump in with commercials that said, hey, go online, pick your car out and have it delivered. We'll pick up your trade, take it back. Obviously, everyone sees the Carvana and the Vroom commercials where that happens to be the case. However, we saw it spike a little bit in retail automotive among franchise dealers, but then it came back down, and we found that more people wanted to come into the dealership to do, take care of most of the process. Where does that stand today at your dealerships? Do people want to do most of the process either online or in the store, or where does that stand?
I would say your assessment of how it kind of spiked during COVID, we saw a little bit of that. We're in Sacramento, California, so we got operations here in Sacramento, Roseville, which I think what a lot of the country maybe saw on the news and these lockdowns, it was very regional. The closer you got to San Francisco, I still have a good friend that works at a competitive automotive group, and they truly were 100% online, scheduling a Zoom to go over the paperwork, the coverages, and everything that we've been doing forever.
Sure.
But they were doing it over Zoom, and largely they've stuck that way. Us being a little bit more inland, our stores were open. People could come in, they could buy cars, they could take advantage of the traditional sales process that we've offered. And I think truly what we're finding, and we really have an interesting dynamic going on here, is we have something called Niello Go. It is, kind of 100%, not kind of, it's 100% online buying platform. We can facilitate the trade-in like you mentioned. We can do all the paperwork. They can buy their own products, check out, sign, and we ship the car to them, and we go on. But what we're finding is once customers find out, particularly in our market, that hey, I'm 30 minutes away, they still want to come into our stores and go through the process. I think what they want to do is complete more of that T crossing, I dotting, the credit applications, the approval process,
right,
and just get in there and get on with it.
Right, and it's important that that's seamless so that when that consumer, one of your customers, does a lot of the process online, fills out all the paperwork, crosses all the T's, dots all the I's, and they come in, the salesperson doesn't say, well, now who are you? Okay, well, let's start all over. What kind of car did you want? It's got to be seamless, right? Where it's, welcome into the dealership, Mr. and Mrs. Jones. I have all of your information right here. Let's get started on the delivery of the vehicle, right?
Yep, exactly. And that part is probably the most important piece of the puzzle. Customers do expect a personalized experience when they show up at a dealership. They expect a personalized experience on websites and Amazon and all this stuff. And I think when it comes to completing the T crossing and I dotting at home, it comes down to training our people, our sales professionals, our finance managers to really embrace the technology that we have in place to facilitate the kind of experience the customer demands. But they've got to read the lead. They got to see what's going on and put
Yeah.
two and two together and really be prepared for when that customer shows up so we can deliver the experience they want.
Sure. When we heard about more of the F&I process being done online, it's funny because it was one thing to hear about the sales process, the trade allowance, negotiating the deal and such, picking out the vehicle that they want, the colors, the interiors, what have you. And for a long time, the F&I department was like, okay, but not F&I. Because we thought in the industry, I say we because I've been in the industry a long time, we thought, no. We got to have them in the box. We got to have the customers in front of us. We can't get into this stuff and trust that they're going to pick out the right products or as many products as we'd like them to pick out. And where does that stand today? Because we're learning that actually, if it done right, you can have a very effective F&I sales process online, right?
Yeah, you absolutely can. And what we're experiencing is, the people that do the prep work prior to coming in, and they get early exposure to F&I products. So they already have a base level understanding of what it is they're looking at. And then when they finally do sit down with the finance manager, they know what they don't know, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And they're better prepared to engage in thoughtful questions and make a decision to protect their investment and have a great ownership experience. Because let's face it, the cars have been on the road longer than they ever have been in the history of automobiles. They're getting more complex, more expensive, and I think the public recognizes that. Just go to the gas pump or buy a gallon of milk and they know everything is more expensive, including maintenance and repairs on their cars.
That's right. No question about it. Let me ask you this. The F&I department has changed over the years, and in fact, some dealerships have made a very drastic change in making one individual take care of the entire process from the time they greet that customer all the way through signing the finance forms and title work and doing the job of an F&I manager. They've kind of merged those two positions together into one. A, do you do that at your dealerships? And B, what do you think about that kind of a strategy?
Matter of fact, we tried it a number of years ago, and we did not have the type of success we had hoped for. I think, when you think about a professional football team, not everybody plays quarterback, not everybody plays wide receiver.
Right.
You do have some specialists on the team. And when you look at the complexity of today's regulatory environment, all the technology between the DMS, the CRM, your menu, and you have all these different software providers that we all work with that are, I would call them each walled gardens, and they just kind of connect with one another when it's convenient for their business goals. That's a lot to train an individual to learn how to master them all. So that in my opinion is the fundamental reason why we don't have that one person taking it all the way through. It's just a lot. And yeah, are there individuals in our industry that can perform at that level and master all those things? Sure, they're out there, but how many times do we see Tom Brady hit the NFL? There's only so many of those guys in any given workforce, regardless of industry.
That's right. Let me switch gears a little bit and talk to you about EVs. We're obviously heading for an EV storm here. Every manufacturer wants it. It seems more and more states want OEMs to be selling and dealers to be selling EVs. Lots, I don't have to tell you, probably your oldest vehicles in inventory happen to be EVs. I'm just guessing. But what impact does EVs have in the F&I department? Does it change things?
Yeah, I think it's from my standpoint and what I see from our sales and finance departments here at the Niello Company, it's a little bit different. I mean, if anything, they're just employing more technology in these cars, and you got to be a little bit more familiar with some of the EV specific technology, battery and stuff, so you just got to know a little bit more, and then making sure that you have finance and insurance products that apply to those vehicles. I sit in a unique situation here at the Niello Company, being the sales and finance director, but I also, I have a number of other dealership groups that I provide F&I products and services and training as well in my role. And I've spent 8 years in that F&I product industry. So knowing how to navigate that and getting products that appeal to customers and that our F&I managers can understand, I think helps us be more effective in our EV sales than maybe some other places in the country. But the demand overall, like you mentioned, it was up. We were the #1 Volkswagen ID4 dealer in the country, right here out of little old Sacramento, California.
Wow.
And now we've got not as many as we did a couple months ago, but definitely the demand and the people buying those cars, it's gone down. And I think it's just, we're not going to get this up into the right sales thing on EV. People are going to be slow to adopt, and I don't think the technology is what the vast majority of public needs. So I think it's going to be, we'll get there whether we like it or not, but we just got to handle the customers and meet them where they want to be on that front.
Sure. One last question. I appreciate all the time that you've given us today, Dennis. But as head of variable operations for Niello, which is a sizable company out there, what are your concerns about the industry as we close out 2023 and go into 2024? What do you think the greatest challenges are that lie ahead for the industry, and more specific for your group?
I think from controllable things, I can't control the economy, I just can't, so I think the biggest concern I have is really just making sure our team is, rooted in being brilliant at the basics, making sure they can use all the tools at their disposal and they help them be more effective. And then, that way we can deliver on a customer experience. I think when we put the customer experience up at the top, along with our employees' work experience, I think everything takes care of itself. So, in terms of controllables, I wouldn't say I'm worried, but what I'm focused on is making sure we have the best people. Our owner, Rick Niello, we've been in business for over 100 years. Wow. He hasn't been around quite 100 years, but he always says, we're not in the car business. We are in the people business.
Yeah.
And I think when we truly wrap our heads around that and approach people first and cars second, we all win. So does the customer.
Yeah, no question about it. Dennis Gingrich, Variable Operations Director at Niello Company. Thank you so much for joining us here on CBT News. We very much appreciate it. Love to be able to call on you from time to time to get an update and see how things are going on that West Coast. And thanks so much for joining us.
I enjoy being here. Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.